Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this year tropical update for June 30th. It's the end of June, and we still only have one tropical cyclone on the year, Tropical Storm Alex, earlier this season over the Atlantic. Potential Tropical Cyclone 2 is trying to become the second one, but still convection away from the center, and it really doesn't have that much of a center yet on it. So we wait. Invest 95L, still an invest, not a tropical depression. Has all that rotation. It has convection, but the convection, the National Hurricane Center says, is too far away from the center of the storm. Therefore, it's not a tropical depression. The area of interest behind potential tropical cyclone 2 is no longer really expected to develop. So we don't have a whole lot to talk about today other than potential tropical cyclone 2. Currently located north of Colombia, it'll be making its way towards Nicaragua and Costa Rica, where slight impacts are possible, as well as low impacts in the surrounding vicinity, and then minimal impacts outside of that, including Panama and Honduras, and potentially Mexico later on as it becomes a hurricane in the Pacific. Again, whether or not it becomes a tropical storm before making landfall, we will see. Hurricane watches also remain in effect there, although it seems unlikely at this point that it'll become a hurricane before making landfall in Nicaragua. There is also a low risk of tropical impacts in Texas, especially near Houston, mainly due to rain. That Invest is not really expected to develop. It's getting too close to land and running out of time to become tropical in nature. Although it is, like I said, it's a well-defined low, but not quite good enough. We also have minimal impacts expected due to the area of interest along portions of the Lesser Antilles. However, at this point, it's nothing too crazy. Here's Invest 95L. It has its low somewhere in there, probably within this tail somewhere that we see. And just the structure of this doesn't look very tropical, and therefore it's not tropical, even though we have winds on all four sides of this. 40% chance of formation within the next 48 hours, really within the next 24 before it moves inland. And that's kind of it. With that potential tropical cyclone 2 still zooming over off to the side. It's starting to get that tropical look to it, but still is a long ways off. As it slows down, it should be able to consolidate more and finally become a tropical storm before making landfall in Nicaragua. So we'll see exactly what happens with that. As I mentioned, tropical storm watches in effect for Costa Rica, Nicaragua on the Pacific side. Tropical storm warning in effect for Nicaragua and Costa Rica on the Atlantic side, that is the Caribbean Sea side, as well as a hurricane watch for portions of Nicaragua as well. Again, depending on where this storm makes landfall and how strong it makes landfall as, we'll see exactly here in the future. 90% chance formation within the next 48 hours on this one. We'll see what happens. Again, it's just a process. It'll happen when it happens. And it really doesn't matter for the impacts. The main impacts are rain, maybe a little bit of wind, and that's kind of it. Speaking of wind, here's the wind impacts. The tropical storm force winds likely over Nicaragua and Costa Rica, as well as over the open Pacific as the storm makes its way there, perhaps along portions of the Mexican Pacific coast. And we'll see exactly what happens and how close it gets to Mexico later on in about a week from now, as this storm will still be something that needs talked about. It looks like it should only become a medium-strength tropical storm before landfall in Nicaragua here in the next day or two. It'll then weaken into a tropical depression before re-strengthening perhaps into a Category 1 or 2 hurricane over the Pacific, and then moving into cooler waters and spinning out no longer as a tropical cyclone. The area of interest behind potential tropical cyclone 2 remains over the central Atlantic today, and it's not impressive, and it's not really expected to develop. The National Hurricane Center, I didn't even update the screen clipping of this because it's not that impressive, but I did update the chances down at the bottom of the screen, 10% within the next 5 days. No major impacts expected there. So again, Invest 95L could become a tropical depression before making landfall in Texas. Potential tropical cyclone 2 going to be making its way towards being an official tropical storm finally, as it makes its way toward Nicaragua and Costa Rica. that area of interest over the Central Atlantic is no longer a big concern. That's all for now. Chris Dixon for their Catholic Media.